Good morning. Thank you for joining me reading Granddaddy's Bible. Today is Thursday, February 1st, 2024, the fifth week of 2024. We're reading today chapters 8 and 9 in Leviticus. Chapter 8. Moses consecrateth Aaron and his sons. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Take Aaron with his sons, their vestments, and the oil of unction, a calf for sin, 2 rams, a basket with unleavened bread, and thou shalt gather together all the congregation to the door of the tabernacle. And Moses did as the Lord had commanded, and all the multitude being gathered together before the door of the tabernacle, he said, This is the word that the Lord had commanded to be done. And immediately he offered Aaron and his sons. And when he had washed them, he vested the high priest with the straight linen garment girding him with the girdle, and putting on him the violet tunic, and over it he put the ephod. And binding it with the girdle, he fitted it to the rational on which was doctrine and truth. He put also the mitre upon his head, and upon the mitre over the forehead he put the plate of gold, consecrated with sanctification, as the Lord had commanded him. He took also of the oil of unction, with which he anointed the tabernacle, with all the furniture thereof. And when he sanctified and sprinkled the altar, 7 times he anointed it, and all the vessels thereof, and the laver with the foot thereof. He sanctified with the oil, and he poured it upon Aaron's head. And he anointed and consecrated him. And after he had offered his sons, he vested them with linen tunics, and put mitres on them, as the Lord had commanded. He offered also the calf for sin, and when Aaron and his sons had put their hands upon the head thereof, he immolated it, and took the blood, and dipping his finger in it, he touched the horns of the altar round about, which being expiated and sanctified, he poured the rest of the blood at the bottom thereof. But the fat that was upon the entrails, and the caul of the liver, and the 2 little kidneys, with their fat he burnt upon the altar. And the calf with the skin and the flesh, and the dung, he burnt without the camp, as the Lord had commanded. He offered also a ram for a holocaust. And when Aaron and his sons had put their hands upon its head, he immolated it, and poured the blood thereof round about the altar. And cutting the ram into pieces, the head thereof, and the joints, and the fat, he burnt in the fire. Having first washed the entrails, and the feet, and the whole ram together, he burnt upon the altar, because it was a holocaust of most sweet odor to the Lord, as he had commanded him. He offered the second ram in the consecration of priests, and Aaron and his sons put their hands upon the head thereof. And when Moses had immolated it, he took the blood thereof, and touched the tip of Aaron's right ear, and the thumb of his right hand, and in like manner also the great toe of his right foot. He offered also the sons of Aaron, and when with the blood of the ram that was immolated, he touched the tip of the right ear of every one of them, and the thumbs of the right hands, and the great toes of their right feet. The rest he poured on the altar round about. But the fat and the rump, and all the fat that covereth the entrails, and the caul of the liver, and the 2 kidneys with their fat, and with the right shoulder he separated, and taking out of the basket of unleavened bread, which was before the Lord, a loaf without leaven, and a cake tempered with oil, and a wafer, he put them upon the fat and the right shoulder, delivering all to Aaron and his sons, who having lifted them up before the Lord, he took them again from their hands, and burnt them upon the altar of holocaust, because it was the It was the oblation of consecration for a sweet odor of sacrifice to the Lord. And he took of the ram of consecration the breast for his portion, elevating it before the Lord, as the Lord had commanded him. And taking the ointment and the blood that was upon the altar, he sprinkled Aaron and his vestments, and his sons and their vestments with it. And when he had sanctified them in their vestments, he commanded them, saying, Boil the flesh before the door of the tabernacle, and there eat it. Eat ye also the loaves of consecration that are laid in the basket, as the Lord commanded me, saying, Aaron and his sons shall eat them. And whatsoever shall be left of the flesh and the loaves shall be consumed with fire. And you shall not go out of the door of the tabernacle for 7 days, until the day within the time of your consecration shall be expired. For in 7 days the consecration is finished. As at the present it hath been done, that the rite of the sacrifice might be accomplished. Day and night shall you remain in the tabernacle, observing the watches of the Lord, lest you die. For so it hath been commanded me. And Aaron and his sons did all things which the Lord spoke by the hand of Moses. Chapter 9. Aaron offereth sacrifice for himself and the people. Fire cometh from the Lord upon the altar. And when the 8th day was come, Moses called Aaron and his sons and the ancients of Israel, and said to Aaron, Take of the herd a calf for sin, and a ram for holocaust, both without blemish, and offer them before the Lord. And to the children of Israel thou shalt say, Take ye a he-goat for sin, and a calf and a lamb, both a year old, and without blemish, for a holocaust. Also a bullock and a ram for peace offerings. And immolate them before the Lord, offering for the sacrifice of every one of them flour tempered with oil. For today the Lord will appear to you. They brought therefore all things that Moses had commanded before the door of the tabernacle, where, when all the multitude stood, Moses said, This is the word which the Lord hath commanded. Do it, and his glory will appear to you. And he said to Aaron, Approach to the altar, and offer sacrifice for thy sin. Offer the holocaust, and pray for thyself and for the people. And when thou hast slain the people's victim, pray for them, as the Lord hath commanded. And forthwith Aaron, approaching to the altar, immolated the calf for his sin. And his sons brought him the blood of it, and he dipped his finger therein, and touched the horns of the altar, and poured the rest at the foot thereof. And the fat and the little kidneys, and the caul of the liver, which are for sin, he burnt upon the altar, as the Lord had commanded Moses. But the flesh and skins thereof he burnt with fire out of the camp. He immolated also the victim of the holocaust, and his sons brought him the blood thereof, which he poured round about on the altar. And the victim being cut into pieces, they brought to him the head and all the members, all which he burnt with fire upon the altar. Having washed the entrails and the feet with water, then offering for the sin of the people, he slew the he-goat, and expiating the altar, he offered the holocaust, adding in the sacrifice the libations which are offered withal, and burning them upon the altar. Besides the ceremonies of the morning holocaust, he immolated also the bullock and the ram, the peace offerings of the people, and his sons brought him the blood, which he poured upon the altar around about. The fat also of the bullock, and the rump of the ram, and the 2 little kidneys, with their fat, and the caul of the liver. They put upon them the breasts, and after that the fat was burnt upon the altar. Aaron separated their breasts and the right shoulders, elevating them before the Lord. Moses had commanded, and stretching forth his hands to the people, he blessed them. So the victims for sin And so the victims for sin and the holocaust and the peace offerings being finished, he came down. And Moses and Aaron went into the tabernacle of the testimony, and afterwards came forth and blessed the people. And the glory of the Lord appeared to all the multitude. And behold, a fire coming forth from the Lord devoured the holocaust and the fat that was upon the altar, which when the multitude saw, they praised the Lord, falling on their faces. Thank you for joining me reading Granddaddy's Bible today. Have a great day.